Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Tower number 9, and I have a quick video here today. I think this is just a single game, and I'm going to be playing Luke Skywalker with the Energy Conversion Lab Command Luke build, something that I quite enjoy, and I am playing against an opponent here who is using an Aggression Tarkin build. So, I do note this is the generic aggression base with 30 life, not Tarkin Town. So I won't have to worry about that extra damage from Tarkin Town. However, my opponent's going to have a little more life for me to chew through. Now, generally, I think the smaller bases are better, but I could be wrong. So I see this hand. This is a crazy hand. This is a super odd hand. It's very I have a ton of space power in this hand. And so what I end up deciding to do is I'm going to resource the home one, which is a very late game card, might not even get to the point where that could be played in this game. And one of my restored arcs, and then my plan is to chain my wing leaders into one another here. With one buffing the restored arc, the other buffing the other wing leader. So I play the restored arc, my opponent plays Piet, and I take the initiative. Now, it is a little annoying. I would ideally like to kill Piet before he can ambush out something strong. But for now, my strength is so heavily in the space arena from that starting hand that I think I want to just play to my strengths, buff up my restored arc, buff up my other stuff, and push through damage there. My opponent plays a Super Laser Technician. Probably the best ramp card in the game right now. Well, it's arguable. Resupply might be better. Um, my restored arc hits the enemy base for 4, and we're sort of off to the races here with this buff from the wing leader, and we're gonna have another wing leader hitting the field this turn as well. So lots of stuff going on there. My opponent plays a resupply, so he's heavily ramped now. So the resupply means that he can actually get Tarkin on the field this turn, and so the Super Laser Technician. If I ignore the ground arena, the Laser Technician probably won't be able to actually die, which will prevent the resource ramping. However, with that resupply, avoiding the ground isn't going to be a real solution to preventing my opponent from getting his leader to deploy a turn early. So I'm not so fond of seeing that. However, I play another wing leader and I buff my restored arc again. So now up to 8 defense. And I'm going to give a shield to my new wing leader. My opponent used Tarkin's ability to give an experience point to Piet. I attack with the wing leader. My opponent comes in with the Super Laser Technician, and I attack with the heavily buffed Restored Arc. Now, my opponent actually takes the initiative here. I'm quite surprised by this. It seems like my opponent maybe forgot that Tarkin could be deployed at this point thanks to the resupply. Was maybe anchored on the Super Laser Technician needing to die for that. I'm not sure. I do think deploying Tarkin this turn would have been much better, as that would have been actually 3 more damage plus, because it would be 2 from Tarkin plus 1 from an experience token that Tarkin would be able to give to one of the other units before it attacked. So it would be 3 more damage, and then additionally, it would be, that experience token having a lasting effect on the game in other turns. My opponent plays Unit Tarkin, 4 cost 2/3. When played, search the top 5 cards of your deck for up to 2 Imperial cards and put them into your hand. You put the other ones at the bottom of the deck in a random order. Chooses a TIE Fighter, just the standard TIE LN, 1 cost 2/1 blank, and a Cell Block Guard, 3 cost 3/3 with Sentinel. Now, I'm thinking here I can do a bunch of damage in space. My opponent plays out that tie. I'm going to take it down with my shielded wing leader, so I remove it without taking any unit loss. My opponent uses Tarkin's ability, buffing Piet again. I would really like to kill that Piet, but I have Agent Callus in hand. I could ambush him in, but thanks to those experience tokens, Piet is out of range. I could ambush in Kanan with the Energy Conversion Lab here, but I actually decided to play him normally. It's at least arguable that this is a mistake and I should have just killed Tarkin or something. But I ended up deciding to play him normally, and I then used Luke's ability to put a shield on him. My opponent swings the Super Laser Technician in to break the shield and turns it into a resource. So now double ramped. I still don't have Luke out, and my opponent has, I believe, 7 resources right now. Tarkin hits the base and then buffs Piet yet again. Not what I want to see. And interestingly, I'm going to take the initiative. Piet's going to hit my base here for 4. So Piet's a big problem. I can't really kill him very easily. I can't really prevent him from doing his stuff. If I had like Waylay or Vanquish, those cards would be strong, but those aren't really options in this build. So that Piet is going to be, or I think actually I'm wrong. I think I do have some copies of Vanquish in this build. I think I have 2 or 3. I don't remember, but I am not seeing them in any case. Um, I don't have Waylay though, which is kind of the cheap option for dealing with a highly buffed character. However, in this situation, I've kind of decided, you know what, my opponent has a big advantage in resources and has a very strong ground force, but the life totals are different enough, and I have enough of an advantage in space that I'm just going to try and push through and just win the game. So, this Piet can hang around and cause me some trouble. The ground units there are very strong. Tarkin is going to keep buffing my opponent. But at this point, I want to just go for the base. And my opponent actually concedes there. So that's gonna be the game. And that was a quick one. And I think we maybe do actually play one more of these. So we will see how this progresses. That first one was over very fast. My opponent didn't have a lot of answers in space. All he really had was that one tie, and my space force was really strong. So I was able to kind of ramp up my unit's strength with those wing leaders, and that restored arc that was swinging for 6 damage a turn was pretty wild. So victory there for the kind of space rush, and I do think this is an important argument, I think, for running removal. Right now, it seems like most decks are more focused on ground than space, which kind of makes sense. Ground units do have better stats, but if the opponent has like a good enough thing going on in space, and you don't have at least removal stuff to play on them, if not your own space stuff to contest it, a game can kind of go out of control pretty fast, which is what we saw in that first one. So we are going to go into a round 2 here, and it's going to be yeah. I'm this time I am going to be playing. I have really 2 options, so I could go with R2 turn 1, or I could go with the Restored Arc. My opponent plays a basic tie. I'm going to play the Restored Arc here. So my opponent is going to be able to use Tarkin's ability, buffing the tie up to 3/2, so we would now trade. I take the initiative. The thing is, so I can either just trade my Restored Arc for the tie immediately, or I could actually play the Wing Leader that I have in hand, buff my restored arc, and then be in a position to clear the tie without myself dying. Um, so kind of depends on what I'm focused on here. If I just trade, I can then play resupply, but I think that the wing leader play is going to be more valuable. So my opponent could immediately trade his tie with the wing leader, but if he does not do so, the restored arc can attack into the tie and kill it. He could give the tie an additional experience with Tarkin, but it won't be enough for the restored arc to no longer be in a strong position. I do end up getting the chance to take down the tie with my restored arc, leaving the wing leader in play. I think that probably in that situation, as the opponent, I might have liked to take the trade. Since he doesn't end up doing anything else with that unit. But I suppose if he took the trade, it would mean that my restored arc would get to attack his base. So he may be thinking like, okay, this is buying me, like, yes, I lost my unit and didn't kill his, but this is buying me time for my larger units later on in the game. And it's very possible he's running some big stuff. A Tarkin ramp deck you can have some pretty strong units later on in the game. You can have stuff like Relentless is kind of the highest high end, but you could also have things like the Gladiator Star Destroyer, the ATST. There are various options. This is another reason that it might have been strong to take the trade. My opponent plays an Imperial Interceptor, and because my Restored Arc is already damaged, even with the experience, he's able to kill it with the 3 damage that the Imperial Interceptor does to a space unit on play. I then trade with my Wing Leader, and my opponent's ground units swing into the base. I did play Kanan this turn, so I have a strong ground unit on the field, but we will see how this develops. This is, I hope, going to be a very big turn for me, though, because I have the resupply still in hand. I can play that going to 6 resources overall. That will allow me to deploy Luke Skywalker. And then that I can furthermore use Luke's lightsaber as well to give Luke a shield, buff his stats, and heal him if he's already taken damage. So I have potentially a pretty big turn. Keenan's ability there, you may discard 1 card from the defending player's deck for each friendly Spectre unit, and you heal 1 damage from your base for each aspect. It discarded an Imperial Royal Guard, so I was able to heal 2. My opponent plays a resupply here. I play my own resupply. I think my resupply is substantially stronger in this situation because mine is taking me to across the finish line, so to speak, with respect to being able to deploy my leader, whereas my opponent was already able to deploy the leader without the resupply. My opponent uses Tarkin's ability to put a counter on his Stormtrooper, making it a 4-2. I have deployed Luke. My opponent is going to deploy Tarkin, and this is actually an awesome opportunity for me because I can now use Luke to kill the Stormtrooper. He's going to take 4 damage, but he'll be out of range of an attack from Tarkin. And then as my next action, I'm going to be able to play Luke's lightsaber, heal all that damage, and get the shield and the stats, which is going to put me in a really good position. Luke's lightsaber, if it can give you a big heal on Luke, is often just massive value. I think it may be the card that has most provoked people to concede the game in my experience thus far. Sometimes you play this card and the game just kind of immediately ends because the opponent's like, "Oh shoot, I was so close to killing him, and now I'm very far away from it, and I have no hope." So Luke's lightsaber 2 cost, +3/+1, and if it attached to a non-vehicle unit, and then if attached unit is Luke Skywalker, you heal Luke fully from all damage when you attach it, which is really strong. Okay, going into the next turn, my opponent does have a lot of resources, but the overall situation is looking pretty unfavorable. So he plays an Imperial Royal Guard. I'll have Kanan just kill the Imperial Royal Guard immediately. That leaves Luke potentially able to kill Tarkin in 1 hit thanks to the lightsaber. I mill off a copy of the Emperor with Kanan and repair 2 damage to my base. My opponent plays a second Imperial Royal Guard. And at this point, I have a few options. So one thing that I could do is I could ambush in Obi-Wan with the energy conversion lab and have him kill the Royal Guard. I end up deciding, that's maybe not what I need here. I'm just gonna have Luke take him out, give the shield to give the shield there to Kanan, and then I believe I'm gonna play Obi-Wan normally. And Tarkin here, like, yes, this means that Tarkin could attack my base, but he doesn't have any unit to buff, so he's not really in that good a position. And then I'm going to play Obi-Wan. So now I have a powerful Sentinel and 2 really strong Jedi units there with Luke and Kanan, and this game is looking very strong for me. I am also building towards playing Home 1, which is basically the top end of the curve in this deck. So Home 1 is a very powerful capital ship. And additionally, when you play it, you may play a rebel card from your discard pile uh, for 3 and its cost is discounted by 3. Now, my opponent plays a super heavy unit of his own, the Blizzard Assault AT-AT. And this is, I believe one of the stronger units in terms of stats, but I think I don't feel that it's going to be like what he needs to save the day here. So I play Home 1, it costs 7/7, restore 2. Each other friendly unit gains restore 1, and when you play it, you can bring in a rebel unit from your graveyard. or discard pile that cost and its cost is reduced by 3. So I replay the wing leader from earlier and give 2 experience to Luke. That puts Luke at strength 9, which would allow him to kill the AT-AT in one hit. However, my opponent then gives the AT-AT an experience token with an attack from Tarkin. So because of that experience token, it's now going to be a little more complicated for me to defeat the Blizzard Assault AT-AT, but I come up with this idea. So first I have Obi-Wan attack the Blizzard Assault AT-AT and die. That deals 4 damage. And then he's gonna give 2 experience to Kanan. And so that gives Kanan up to strength 6. And Kanan can now kill the AT-AT, losing only his shield. Additionally, because I gave the experience from Obi-Wan dying to a Force unit, I get to draw a card when Obi-Wan dies. So my opponent doesn't realize that I have the experience on at first, I think. Or I'm not actually entirely sure what happened there. Yeah, I think he didn't realize that I had the experience on and thought he was only going up to 8 damage taken, but actually it's a kill. And Luke then is going to defeat Tarkin, just kind of clearing up the board here. And I think I've forgotten my restore triggers. My home one is given all these units restore, and then I remember there. So it's looking grim for my opponent here. I have a really strong space arena, a really strong ground arena, and both bases are actually at full life now. He had done some damage to me early on, but home one had gotten me a lot of restore, and I think at this point the game is mostly over, and indeed my opponent types GG. So yeah, those were some strong games for Command Luke there. Um, Definitely a deck that I've been enjoying playing. I'm not sure if it's going to end up being like a super competitive build. I don't really know how the meta is going to shake out in this game. It's kind of hard to tell. But what I do know is that I've been really enjoying playing with it for whatever that's worth. Um, so that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back later with some more Star Wars Unlimited content. Catch you guys later.